As promised, good morning, Mr. Wikutso Mulifi. How are you? Welcome to GabzFM.
Thank you very much. I am fantastic in this cold, cool weather.
All right, thank you. Yeah, the weather has been a bit strange. I think that I don't know what season this is, but technically it's autumn. But you know what, Momotswana, we only believe there's two seasons. It's either summer or winter. So I don't know, I usually say no. Mariga simolla edi. No, that's what I simolla edi. There's a season called autumn in between. But nevertheless, let's get right into it. Just give us a little brief of yourself as well as dramatic scholars.
Okay, Bikuto Peño Mulifi is a multidisciplinary artist with a bachelor's degree in live performance and currently studying a postgraduate diploma in education. I'm the founder and director of a company called Dramatic Scholars, which sole purpose is to preserve African history through various artistic expressions. Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to go that route. What inspired you to open Dramatic Scholars? Like, what is your passion in that field all about?
I think most of the history that I've consumed, I've stumbled upon it. In terms of African history, right? Would it be the story of El Negro? I was talking to Donald Mulusi, and we were talking about Sarah Bartman and Otto Banga and just their treatment, and then he was like, yeah, similarly to El Negro, who's buried here. And, initially you go that, yeah, El Negro, who's the brother? And then similarly to would be story Saha the Battle of Dimawe, where you're like, okay, we did what? And I think I read an article, I believe it was by Jeff Ramsey. He was talking about how had we lost the Battle of Dimawe, Botswana would not be where it was, or where it is right now.
Yes.
Right. So you look at that's such a significant event. So you can't talk about independence and Anapulia, or rather from my perspective, right? So I think that's what inspired me to start this company in Nakanya. Let's educate people, but through art, because I think we're coming to a point where when you want to look at the struggles and the stories of the people, you got to look at the artists. Yeah. They are the ones who are going to reflect it. So I think we have to also honor the people who came before us. So yeah.
Just as a side question, do you feel that we consume information easier when it's in its artistic form or when it's in the written form? Because there are many people who say, look, right now in the attention economy, which is what we have, which is what we're competing with, people prefer to be audiovisual, like videos and music and what have you, and they consume that more than what they read. Is that your experience as well?
I think it's mixed because I'm a drama teacher. I think there's an element, I'm a very practical. So if I'm to teach you, I have to show you, right? And so but again, when you look at how, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she was talking about how when you're looking at countries like Australia, I think it's Australia or New Zealand, that have been digitized in terms of their learning. They're now coming to the traditional means of teaching now because they realize or they've opened a can of worms that, in terms of like you're saying, the attention span issue. So I think for me, it's how do you bridge what students are learning in history, in English literature and drama, and then making it easily consumable. So I get English literature, history, and learning about also critical thinking. Drama is also critical thinking. When you're looking at character performances, you have to also character analysis, do a character's analysis. So I think it's easier when you make it all come together as one thing. But I mean, of course, curriculums can't always be that flexible, so to say.
All right. Now, where do you feel in Botswana we lack in terms of, codifying? I think the word is codifying things of historical importance. So, for example, that Battle of Dimawe that you mentioned, it's not something that the majority of us know. What is it an issue of? Are we not emphasizing it enough in education, or are just disinterested?
I think it's a bit of both, actually, because even with some of the students that I've taught, I only piece it to them later. Or this actually happened more time, and it's like, what? But I think there's also the thing of Botswana doesn't document as it should. For example, the Gaborone raids, 1985.
Yes.
I went to National Archives and Record Services, and there was only just one book.
Oh.
And you're like, that's such a huge event, but you only have one book in, Bigako, I think it was National Records, go Block 10.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anything, right? And then I'm having the conversation with the gentleman there, and he said something that I thought was really interesting. He's like, he doesn't understand was it then they didn't realize what you're doing is it's going to be a part of history, so you're not necessarily paying too much focus into it. you know. But I think it's also the thing of like, people need to start writing, because I genuinely believe that people who have written them down, it's just that they don't want to take it to be archives and stuff, because it's like I gotta monetize of the information that we have, right? Rightfully so. But I think there's also the thing of like the government needs to, maybe not say government, but I think the education system needs to change, because identity, history also roots your identity, right? You need to know where you're coming from, right? You know, you're looking at the conversations about reparations and all of that. I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but you know, but it's fundamentally it's like they're addressing a certain ill that happened, right? But even away from the ills, there's also triumphs. Like, I mean, we want to develop Zimbabwe, right? Even the story is fascinating. Like, I think whenever I consume history, I'm a visual guy, so if I'm reading, I'm seeing scenes automatically. So it was a thing of like, okay, I think there needs to be more of that, where it's like, okay, where, like, for example, Botswana society has Koiso.
Yes.
And so you look at something like that, where it's like, okay, here, historians coming together and they're talking about the history. Would it be local historians or foreign historians? But there's a thing of like, there's a conversation taking place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel that we don't document primarily because we don't see the monetary value in it? Or is it expensive to document? So, for example, when you say there's various folklore in, you know, every village. I think every village has famous things that happen to it that you'd only really find out if you were lucky enough to sit around the elderly. Now, is it a case of we don't sit enough with those that are elderly and take time to say we're going to write these things down, or in our age, video it? Or do you think some of these things are meant to be just kept as, what do they call it, folktale? Just basically just casual conversation.
I think we're not sitting down, you know. Like, I also look at my life, you know. I'm like, it was only of recent I started talking to my grandma, and you know, when we're having these conversations, I ask her so that I can always come back to that that information, right? And so I think fundamentally we need to also start looking into those things. And again, I think there's also, if I'm being honest, like from the people that I've encountered and taught, even just various schools that we've engaged in, there's also, they're like, okay, that's not a priority. Like, history lesson is not a priority now. Like, not a curriculum, but we need to focus more on
you passing your exam.
Yeah, you passing your exam, or rather the issues that are plaguing the students, right? Whether it be drug and alcohol abuse, vaping. Do something around that. It's a history. So I think there's also that where people don't see the value in history in itself. Hence why there are very few people who document, you know.
Now, do you feel that documentation of these things, as I said, is lagging because there's no commercial benefit, or it's just because we're more concerned with the social issues of the day rather than to look back?
Yeah, I think it's expensive to document, if I'm being honest. I think because the reality is, like, let me take you. Let's say you wanted to do an investigative piece on the raids of 1985.
Yeah.
How many people are you going to be interviewing? Who's paying for your fuel? You know, South Africa, in Amsterdam, you know, all these various different countries, right? So you're almost going to find, when you start engaging in conversation, and there are some people that I know who are working on certain documentaries around that, right? And so it's like, it's one, the cost of travel, two, the cost of, okay, I want a piece of the pie, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to interview me,
what are you going to
What are you giving? Yeah, you know.
And unless you have sponsors, you might not have much to give.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you're gonna eventually give so much, and then it has to become like a passion project, because you can't put food on the plate, right? So it's like, you know, I think artists have that thing of like, I don't know how the saying goes. It's like, 4 for the plate, 1 for the soul, something like like that. It's like, I'm gonna do these ones for the money, and then this passion project.
Once they got the passion, once they've got the money, then they do what they want.
They do what they want.
All right. Now, just the last question, because time is unfortunately on our side. Do you think that social media is having a positive impact or a negative impact in documentation? And the reason I'm asking this is because with social media, there's always the issue of fact check.
Yeah.
Are you telling the truth? Are you not telling the truth? Are you twisting the story? It's a very liberal medium. There isn't a lot of safeguards to check that what is being said is true. Is it good or is it bad?
I think it's a hard one to say, because I think I've seen people who have spewed misinformation, not intentionally, because the only thing that you've consumed is one-sided, because the other side didn't document. You know what I'm saying? And that's the unfortunate reality, is then you have to have someone then come out and say, no, but check this and that and that and that. So there are very few people who do, like, would be video essays, who do then go back and say, okay, I apologize, I was wrong with this, I have consumed something else. But I think so. But it also puts the thing of like, those who know, you need to now start, you know, because it's like, if you're doing history, you gotta honor the people. And so, but again, it's also like there's a bias, because there's your perspective, there's my perspective, right? You know, so it's, I felt this way, or our people felt this way.
And I think there's a saying that I read from many historians push, that so long as history is written from the eye of the hunter, the lion is always going to be the victim, or something to that effect. So do you also believe it's a case of who happens to be the predominant narrative at that time?
Yeah, I think, man, one of the things I'm learning now is that the diplomacy of certain situations, right? And there's some stories that need to be told, but can't be told by you.
Okay.
Because there's certain, you know, and so there's a thing of like, okay, I think I've always been of the perspective, if the story is told, it's told.
It's told,
Who tells it doesn't always necessarily matter, because it's like, if I'm shedding light to an issue, isn't the kind of
thing is the issue.
Is the issue, right? Then it's really the message of the issue, so to say. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mulifi of Dramatic Scholars. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely, lovely day.
You too, my brother.
Thank you. Bye. It is GabzFM. Your time is 8:44 on the morning.